Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Asutosh Kumar. On behalf of National Board for Quality Promotions and Quality Council of India, I welcome you to our session today. The theme of the today's webinar is Digital Solutions to Handle Regulatory and Quality Challenges in Pharma Industry. With health of the individuals becoming the topmost priority and the rising technological investments, it becomes important for the pharmaceutical plants to accelerate their activities and improve the quality even more. Healthcare market challenges, complex regulatory and documentation requirements, production flexibility are some of the major pain points of the pharma industry. So, digitalization in pharma industry is becoming necessary to meet the above challenges, thus removing the manufacturing bottlenecks by creating a meaningful insights of the operation data, preserving the data integrity, thereby increasing efficiency and productivity across the value chain. So, through this program, we will try to provide you an understanding on what challenges and issues the pharma industries are usually facing and how they can harness the advantage that are possible through the smart and digital solutions. The agenda of the program will have the presentation from Ms. Shurvi Bapat, following which we will take few questions from the participants as the time permits. The participants may please mention their queries for the speakers on the chat windows. So let us introduce our speaker first. Ms. Survi Bapat is a process industry digitalization specialist in pharma, Siemens Limited. She has an experience of over 15 years in the field of process automation and has worked in various functions, including engineering and commissioning, project management, corporate strategy, and digitalizations for the process industries. She is currently working in the digital enterprise business for process industries, focusing on delivering Industry 4.0 based solutions, encompassing IoT gateways, cloud architectures, and applications around digital twins and data analysis. We welcome you, ma'am. You may please start with the session, please.
Okay, so hello everyone. Good morning to all of you. I hope you all are healthy and safe. Uh, so the topic for today, I think a very relevant topic. How do we address regulatory and quality challenges in pharma industry, and how can technology or digital solutions help us to do that? So we will try to keep the session very simple, and I have planned it in such a way that we have good amount of time in the end for questions. So whatever comes to your mind, please put in across, and we'll try and make sure that we discuss about each of your questions. So all the KPIs that you see on the screen, efficiency, flexibility, time to market, quality, for sure these KPIs are very important in any industry. But when we talk about a pharma world and pharmaceutical plant, quality as a KPI stands out as one of the most important KPIs. And when we talk about quality, needless to say, what is very important is consistency in quality, repeatability. We always talk about traceability of products right from the raw material to the packaging. So, quality as a KPI is extremely significant. And if we see, let's say, on a broader level, what could be the goal of a quality management system? Quality management system is one of the most powerful and one of the most important systems in a pharma plant. If we have to categorize two goals, the first goal which we uh, can set up is a smooth audit with minimal or no observations. I think that would make the life of a quality person very easy. And the second most important goal is have first class products. Keep improving the quality and have the best quality for the products that are manufactured. But we all know that this is probably easier said than done, because what happens, and this is out of the FDA observations, we see that in the last 2 years consecutively, the observation that has been on the topmost for the FDA inspections has been procedures not in writing or not fully followed. So definitely we need to work on, and we need to see, can we avoid such observations, and can we use technology, can we make use of technology to help us avoid such observations. And while we are doing this, is it possible to improve the quality of products while we, of course, adhere to all the regulations? So, the agenda for today is to really understand how technology can come to our help. So, before we really talk about technology and how it matches our goals and having a better quality management system, we first really have to explicitly understand what are the core challenges of a quality management system. And I will not spend much time on this because all of you, with all your experience, and you are actually living each of these items in your day to day life. So, just to put it across so that all of us know, and then we can see how technology really can help us in addressing these challenges. The first one is error free execution of processes and data integrity. Very important word when we talk about quality of batch manufacturing records. Data and document management throughout the life cycle of the product and also after its expiry. And for all of those who are not so much from the core pharma industry, this is very important in a pharma plant because the drug substance that is produced, it's actually getting consumed by consumers like us. So every product and whatever regulations and whatever procedures are set in place to make that product, ensuring that they go hand in hand is very important in a pharma plant. Availability of production related data in a single place and track and trace, so complete traceability. Repeatability of product quality and process safety. And finally, the most important one, productivity and quality improvement via continual improvement measures. So with these challenges, when we talk about technology, and that is where I also from Siemens primarily come from. Uh, if we say that, see, what you see here is a typical what they normally call an automation pyramid or a layered architecture. We definitely cannot say that any one layer in this or solutions for any one layer can effectively address the challenges that we just saw. So definitely we need a holistic view from the production layer right up to the enterprise layer to make sure that we are able to address these challenges effectively. So we will first start with the bottom layer or the production layer because we all know that if there are any gaps in this layer, they are going to make their way to the top. So making the production layer robust is very, very important. Now, the first topic that I am going to introduce today is called digital twin or a virtual twin. Now, all of you would definitely have heard about this. You also would have read about this. But before we go deeper into the technology part and really find out what it is, let us get a perspective on why we talk about digital twin when we talk about quality or when we talk about addressing the regulatory challenges. See, if let's take a greenfield plant wherein the actual plant is not yet ready. If I, as an experienced quality professional from the industry, with all the vast experience that I have, with all the uh, experience that I have on taking batches after batches, products after products, if I can see a virtual plant in front of me, which exactly looks like, and when we say a virtual twin, it should definitely look like the actual plant, but it should also be able to behave like the actual plant. It should have all the properties of the actual plant. Only then it is a true virtual twin. So, as an experienced quality professional, if any one of you has such a virtual plant in front of you, where you can see exactly what you would have actually seen in a real plant on a computer in front of you. You can see the various control parameters. You can see the actual unit operations going on. You can see both the manual operations and the automatic operations. You can see the material movement, the man movement there. As an experienced person, you can immediately find out and visualize what could be the gaps in quality when the actual plant comes into reality. With all your experience, you can immediately identify the quality gaps even before the quality management system is put into place in the real plant, and already start improving and having a better quality management system. Also, the same case if we talk about a brownfield plant, wherein a plant is already ready, we already have a QMS system in place. The same plant, if we are able to convert into a virtual twin, either a part of it or the entire plant, then so let's take the example of a formulation plant, for example. So if we are able to simulate the entire manufacturing line, the entire packaging line, along with the equipments, along with the movement of the material, along with the movement of operators and the people around, the facility around it, as a experienced quality professional, like we saw earlier for a greenfield project, we can immediately pick up what gaps can occur. We can immediately identify how we can improve our existing quality management system. So, therefore, when we talk about a digital twin or a virtual twin, like we said, we always talk about two worlds. There is a virtual world and there is a real world. So, real world is the actual plant which has an actual product, and the virtual world is in our computer, which is exactly the same plant manufacturing the same product with the same unit operations as the real plant. And are they disintegrated? Are they disconnected from each other? No, not at all. They are tightly integrated with each other, because a virtual system is always used to analyze, to study, and the insights that we get from it are fed back to the real system, because it is almost next to impossible to do all the tweaking, all the simulation to really study the system in a real environment. So, therefore, such a virtual environment is always closely integrated with the real world. So, when we talk about a digital twin, and like we said, be it a greenfield plant, be it a brownfield plant, we always talk about two, three concepts. So, what you see is a process digital twin. Now, when we say a process digital twin, uh, and I would keep uh, coming back to the significance of the technology to the topic of today, that is the quality and regulatory challenges. And if we are able to build such a process digital twin, which not only is simulating the process, like you see here from the R&D stage to the actual manufacturing and then the final stage, but it is also able to simulate the equipments, the automation system, the IOs, the sensors, everything, whatever makes the real plant. And like I explained previously, be it a greenfield plant, be it a brownfield plant, as a quality person, as a person who has to address and who has to improve the quality management system, such a technology can definitely come to our help. Similarly, if we have to do a similar type of simulation, a similar type of analysis for a single unit operation, even that is possible. Also, with the technology, what is possible now is a flow simulation. So, typically, whenever we talk about improvement in the quality of a product, now a product quality is a very big topic, and there are so many unit operations, so many ingredients, I would say, that go along. So, whatever I'm showing you are each of these little pieces which help us to give us an insight to improve ultimately the overall product quality. So we have tools and tackles available in the form of multi-physics simulation, which is based on computational fluid dynamics, that basically allow us to understand how the different flows interact. So in a digital twin, like I said, if we are simulating the entire process, then also to understand within the process how the flows interact with each other, is also very important, very crucial. How we can improve the performance of the equipment thereon, improve its energy consumption, and so on, of course, is also a parameter that can be analyzed. So, before I come to the plant digital twin, I would just like to say one statement about the different process digital twins that we saw. See, digital twin is always understood as a topic which is relevant for production, which is more relevant for understanding and gaining insights on yield improvement, on productivity improvement, optimization, and so on. But in our opinion, a digital twin as a concept is extremely useful even from a quality point of view. This is the reason why we started today's presentation with this technology topic. So what you see on the screen now is what we call a plant digital twin. Now, uh, what happens typically in a plant is, and you all have experienced this, there are multiple systems, multiple groups, each are working on their own area of work. Everybody is producing their own set of documents. So what we typically see is there is no central place, there is no central hub where these documents come together. They are typically located in multiple scattered ways, and as the plant runs for more and more number of years, it is also then becomes very difficult to retrieve the latest document because of typically too much of version management, too much of revisions that come into picture, so on and so forth. So when we talk about a digital twin is not only for the process, but digital twin is also to bring all the data, all the information that is contained in a plant, which is actually the heart of that plant, right from the design to the service phase into one common data hub. So whenever uh, we have to retrieve a piece of information, we are not looking at 10 different places. We are looking at just one data hub, and this then becomes a single source of truth. So what we also call such type of data hubs is a living and learning database. And the reason why they are called a living and learning database is right from the design phase. So when the plant was born, all the design documents right from there to the engineering to the operations phase of the plant, every piece of document can be made available here, and every team is updating whatever work they are doing, whatever new documents they are creating, all of them are working on the same data hub. Yeah. So also when we talk about quality, availability of documents, keeping all the documents in one place, a central repository for data and document management, and this we also saw as one of the challenges, is very very important. Now, coming from digital twins to the topic of automation. Now, automation, we all are very familiar, and we all know about automation. It's been in the industry for quite long. So, we are not going to go deeper into how automation is enabling process execution. We all know how it does that. We also know that automation helps us to ensure that all the operating procedures that are written down to manufacture a drug substance are exactly followed. So, definitely compared to a manual operation, an automatic process execution is going to be beneficial. This is a known fact. But what I would like to stress here today is automation has really evolved over a period of time. So, the concept of digital twin that we saw, which also integrates automation into it, automation systems are now able to be a part of a complete ecosystem. So when we say ecosystem, the automation system talks to the ERP, so the production orders can seamlessly flow into the automation. The automation has a tight integration with the MES system, the manufacturing execution system. The digital twin concept that we saw, it also pulls data from the automation system, because we saw how we are able to simulate the automation, the equipments, the IOs also. So all that input is then taken from the automation system. So automation as a topic, yeah, there are There are lots of products available in the market. It's not a new topic. But when we talk about digitalization, it's very important to understand that any solution that we put in our plant has to be integrated in a complete ecosystem. So our ERP, our MES, automation, if we are making a digital twin, all of them have to integrate together, and that's the benefit that automation brings. So I will not spend much time on explaining how automation is enabling us to observe that the SOPs, the procedures are followed, how we are able to do error-free process execution. Definitely, these are challenges in quality, and we know that automation helps to address these. But uh, this is one value proposition that the automation and advanced automation systems now bring on the table. Integrated ecosystem. So now moving on from the production layer, which was really the bottom layer, we now move to the middle layer, which is our manufacturing execution systems. So we are talking about digitizing the entire production process and how MES systems help us. Now, whenever we talk about an MES system, and I'm sure this topic also all of you are very familiar with, this has been in the industry for quite a long time. So, just a few features and a few differentiators that we will talk about today. So, let's say we have a production system which does not have MES. So, how will it look like? We have a typical production system. So, definitely the demand forecasting and planning would happen in the ERP. We would have the planning, the monthly and the weekly buckets, the plans getting formed, work orders getting issued. We would have always a material reception, a warehouse management system, and typically every plant has its own way of managing the warehouses, quarantining the raw materials, making a log of what came in, so on. When the work orders have to flow into the production area, that is where the manual work starts typically. So the quality team checks the data, issues a copy of the BMR to the production. The production starts, the BMR is filled up manually. So we might have an automation system which is doing process control, but in a lot of plants we don't have an integration between the automation system and the main core system where there's no MES. So we have manual filling up of the BMRs, and finally what happens is after the entire production is complete, there's a big chunk of documents that requires to be cross verified and checked. Now MES is this one thread. So what we didn't have here, yeah, what we didn't have here, we saw that ERP is disconnected from the actual production. The automation system is the data from the automation system is not flowing in into the BMRs. The warehouse management system may or may not be connected to the production system. The quality personnel does not have full visibility or transparency of the production process. So although we might have multiple systems individually controlling little parts. We have an ERP, we have an automation, we have a warehouse management system, but there is no thread that is linking all of them together. And this thread is nothing but an MES system, like we all know and like we all understand. So an MES system would provide an electronic record that precisely details how a drug has been produced as required by the regulatory bodies. And in order to do that, this thread that MES provides is very important by integrating everything from the ERP to the final packaging. So we know this. There are typically three modules in an MES system. A design module, so tight integration between different systems, like we spoke. How it is executed. So definitely, it's a paperless process. Uh, there is no need to fill in the data manually in an electronic batch record. It flows in directly from the DCS, and we know that we do review by exception. So the review process or the checking process becomes very easy. Again, we won't spend much time going into details of the features because all of you know very well that MES looks after master batch records. It looks after material management. It can also do weighing and dispensing. It has tight integration with automation and ERP. It is able to integrate the packaging system. So this is known to us. But the differentiators that I would talk about today is first of all, MES systems have evolved in such a way that they actually form the link between layer 2, that is our production layer, and the enterprise layer. And the more we talk about technology, the more we talk of digital solutions, it's very important for us to understand that if we have to gain any insight as a quality person, what would I want to do? I want to improve the quality of my product. I want to know which batch went good, why it went good, which batch did not go well, why it did not go well. I want to have all these insights. But in order to have these insights, we need data. Yeah. Now, MES is one such system which aggregates all the data from the current and the previous batches, all the batch related relevant data, not just the production data, but also the data for raw materials, for the work orders, for the operators, everything in one place. And this can be really, really used in a beautiful way to gain insights. Secondly, when we talk about traceability in a quality management system, traceability can only be achieved if we have that thread, which I keep talking about, from the time that the material came in and we had the work order generated in the ERP to the time that the production was complete and it was packed. So this is another reason why MES is so useful for pharma industries and more so for a quality point of view. And the third benefit and a differentiator which I would like to highlight is we have a lot of plants wherein there are they have been running for quite some time and there are BMRs which are available in Word format, Excel format, and so on. So with the advanced MES systems that we have, it is also very much possible now to very easily import these BMRs and these documents into the system. So if we have a running plant, it's also quite easy to integrate it if we are deploying an MES system. So what would happen with a MES implemented in a plant? How would from a quality point of view, how would we see the things? The ERP stays as it is, so the planning part stays as it is. The material reception, it can happen in a separate system, or we can also enable the MES to do material reception and warehouse management. And in case we are using MES for that, then such a type of form helps us to do that, where we are able to specify the type of material, the status, the location, the quantity, and so on. Uh, Definitely, there is no need to have a manual process to launch the work orders. So they are automatically done in the EBR or in the MES system. So the work order in a MES system would look like and would flow exactly from the ERP system into the production. We would then have the dispensed material. We would also be able to track what materials are getting used in a particular batch. The production starts and then the process values are recorded into the recipe, into the BMR directly from the DCS. So there is a close integration between the DCS system and an MES system. So like we saw in the other case, there is no need for any manual record filling. And finally, when we are doing the checks, it is only checking the deviations, only the exceptions, and therefore a lot of time gets saved. So that was about the middle layer. Uh, Now we move to another layer, which is again a very important, and I would recall that we started from the production layer, we went to the middle layer, and now we move to the enterprise layer, which is the layer where we aggregate data, we analyze data. Now, why is this important from a quality standpoint? Like we saw earlier, improvement in the quality of products, continuous improvement in the quality is also one of the goals of a quality management system. So, when we talk about data, and we also learned that uh, having automation, having an MES system is not just important because of their own features. Yeah, so automation is not important just because we want to have automatic process control, but automation and MES are also providing us rich data from the different batches, which is able to give us valuable insights for continuous improvement. So typically, when we talk about data analysis, there are different ways to do it. One is descriptive analysis. Analysis. So we say, okay, what went wrong? What was not okay? And we are spending time on this topic really because uh, we see two things typically happening. One is repeatability in the quality of products. Yeah, that's a tough task sometimes. Ensuring that we have consistency in quality. That's one topic. And second is what can I change or how can I improve the quality of my product? So the second type of analysis is diagnostic. So a particular something has happened. Why did it happen? Get to the root cause. And then we all know predictive. So before something happens, we are able to estimate what might go wrong. And prescriptive. So based on what might go wrong, if we are able to suggest some prescriptions, some corrective actions, and so on. So typically, cloud-based platforms offer a very good environment for data analytics. So if we are wanting to use data analytics for quality improvement, then we can also explore use of cloud platforms which integrate very easily with on the southbound with any system, any device from any make typically, and on the northbound we can write a good amount of customized applications to get the results that we want, that a quality person will want. Now, whenever we talk about analytics, yeah, an important topic to address is quality by design. And again, probably this is a topic that all of us have heard, and we all have read about it before. So, quality by design is typically achieved by a technology called process analytical technology. And just to give a little bit of overview, because this topic directly connects with the quality part that we are talking about today. So, if we have quality by inspection, which is one way of seeing things, wherein we have a certain process and input coming, and we are actually doing the quality tests once the product is coming out, and then probably based on the result of the test, either it's a pass or a fail. Instead of that, if we are having a quality by design, wherein we are doing real time monitoring and control as the process is going on, what happens in such a process is there are so when we talk about the final product, we always talk about certain critical quality attributes which we have to achieve, and there are certain critical process parameters that enable us to achieve those critical quality attributes. So a system like this, quality by design system, a process analytical technology, would first build this correlation between the CPPs and the CQAs, and then via a closed loop system it would actually influence the CPPs so that we get the right CQAs. So therefore what we get at the output is a first time release or a consistent quality output. Moving on, another important topic that we see very relevant to the industry today is golden batch analytics. Now, uh, I won't spend much time on the actual concept of golden batch and uh, the influence of golden batch on the batch performance, we all know it. But I would definitely say that we have technology that enables us to understand how our batch is performing vis-a-vis the golden batch. So what you see here on the left hand side graph is we have a red line. These two red lines are basically what is a standard deviation that is allowed. So what is the range that a batch can go through? This is the real time monitoring of the batch. So what we can, first of all, as a first step, what we can learn is how our batch is performing right now and whether it falls between the acceptable range. Now going on further, because we saw different type of analysis is possible, and remember, we are now at the top layer, and all this analysis that we are talking about here is possible because we had certain systems, we had certain technologies that we spoke about in the bottom layer and in the middle layer. Yeah, all this data from batches is actually coming from there. So when we see at the predictive part, not only can we monitor our existing batch, but we can also see uh, a future trajectory, a predicted trajectory, where probably there might be a deviation and the batch might be going outside of the acceptable parameters. So once we know that in advance, of course, we are able to take some corrective actions. So such type of analysis really becomes very useful when we are trying to ensure that our batch is staying to the performance that it is expected for. Yeah. Now, moving from analytics and its correlation to quality, its correlation to how we can improve quality. Uh, what we now move on, and we are still at the top layer. Yeah, we are still at the enterprise layer. Is all this data, and typically even if you don't even if we see the scenario now without any of these technologies getting deployed, we see a lot of tools and a lot of softwares are still used for little purposes. Okay, so we always have a bunch of systems in place, and data is scattered all across. So if a particular decision has to be made, if a quality person wants to analyze, yeah, uh, what went wrong with my batches in the last month, or what was good with the good batches that I had over the last 1 year. If such type of analysis a quality person wants to do, he definitely needs all the data from these multiple systems in one place. So what we see typically is scattered systems, and then data not being in a central place. So we have smart softwares available now which do two things. One is they aggregate data. So you can have your data in any multiple system as long as it's an electronic system, it's fine. It can be an Excel file or it can be LIMS, it doesn't matter. They aggregate data from these multiple systems. They contextualize data because data, when it converts into information, it means different for different people. For a quality person, the KPIs or the kind of analysis what a quality person would want to do would be very different from somebody else. So the data is then put together in the right way, contextualized specifically to the way that the person who is analyzing wants to see it. So you typically get these kind of dashboards wherein this data is put smartly, and different type of analysis can then take place. So the heart or the core of such type of softwares always is aggregation of data from different systems. The dashboards, yeah, they are good, they look good, that's okay. That's not the heart. The heart is, and the pain point that we address here is all the multiple systems are brought together in one place. So With this, let's understand some key takeaways from today's session. Because we talked about a lot of technologies. We started from digital twin to automation. We spoke about MES and then we spoke about analytics. So let's do a nice recap of what all we learned. So, first of all, we need a holistic view from production to the enterprise layer to address quality and regulatory challenges. So, if we want to understand this topic fully, then we have to go across all the layers. This is the first thing that we saw. Second, digital twin can enable to identify and address quality gaps and improve the overall quality management system. So, one always wonders, why should I have a digital twin? I only have to check the records, perform the audits, and ensure that the quality is perfect. How does digital twin help me? So hopefully we are able to address that question effectively in this session. That digital twin would really help to identify those gaps, those improvement areas which otherwise is difficult to isolate in a running plant, in a real plant. Automation integrates seamlessly with the MES and ERP system to build a tight ecosystem. So, uh, we are not talking about automation in its regular purpose. Of course, it will do what it is meant to do, and we all know how it helps in improving the quality. But, like I highlighted, the benefit is in the ecosystem. The benefit is it talking to MES, talking to ERP, talking to multiple systems, and then bringing a cohesive environment. Central data and document management helps bring all the information on a common platform. So, this typical pain point that we are flooded with various types of data, and as the years go on, because documents have to be maintained throughout the life cycle of a product, even after its expiry. So, we are talking about a span which is very long, which runs into years, and maintaining the data documents, keeping them ready, yeah, safely at any point of time. All of this is a very tough task. It's not easy. So, such a system, and we talked about such a common data hub, which brings together all this information from the entire life cycle of the plant in one place, and which can be easily retrieved as well. MES integrates the ERP and automation to the actual production and helps in traceability and data analytics. So MES as a concept we all know, but the use of MES first of all as a thread that builds in everything together, and as a platform that then helps for data analytics, that pushes or that brings in data together for analysis, and that helps to do traceability, is what is very important to understand. And then finally, we saw how we can build in quality by design, how we can do analysis of batches, compare them to golden batch, and visualization. So, how we can do analysis, how we can have improved decision making by bringing in all the data on structured dashboards, which we can see and which can help in continual quality improvement. So, with this, from my side, I would close the session. Like I said, we wanted to have it simple, straightforward, to the point, really bringing out the differentiators and bringing out the point how technology helps in uh, addressing the quality management system. So now we are open for questions, and so
So,
let's
ma'am,
see. Yeah.
we will take some questions from our participants. Now we can start taking the questions from the chat window.
Okay. Okay, so we have a question. how does automation help the overall efficiency of pharma industry? Very good question. Uh, Now, like we said, so let's understand the different parts of automation. And so, one part that we all know and understand is that automation helps in process control. Yeah? It helps in ensuring that the process happens the way it is expected to be. So, I'm just trying to go to the slide where we talked about automation so that it's easy for Mr. Madan Mohan Khanna. Your question. Okay. So this we all know how automation would help us to ensure that the operating procedures are followed. Now, how can it improve the overall efficiency? For this, we really have to look into little points. What if we don't have the automation system? What would happen? First of all, whenever we talk about execution of process manually, yeah, definitely it's going to bring in the errors that it is. And an automation system with the inherent features that it has, it can not only control a process, but it can also execute the operating procedures seamlessly and accurately. Yeah. So there was one more question from one of the participants, that if the set points are put in manually, how effective is the automation system? Yeah, you are absolutely right. Uh, the moment see the moment there is a person involved, or the moment there is anything done manually, there is always a chance of error. Yeah. So if we are talking about a foolproof system, which is really, and when we talk about MES and automation coming together in a plant, the SOP or the procedure is running in the MES. It is defining the task that has to be done. The task is then executed by the DCS system. The records are automatically fed from the DCS system into the BMR, and the process goes on. So here, if we implement a fully automated system, we get the best benefits. We reduce the chances of errors to the bare minimal that is possible. We improve the speed of operation, because clearly if every task is getting done manually, yeah, if I want to, let's say I want to have treated water for my batch, and I want to check that the water quality and the conductivity is within certain parameters so that I can use it in the production. If all of that has to be done manually, I first have to see the records. I have to confirm what the conductivity is at that instant of time. I have to manually check whether it is in the acceptable range. Then I have to instruct somebody to open the line so that the water is pulled in. All of this becomes extremely time consuming. So I would say uh, automation has been in place for almost 20-30 years now. It's it is a solution that definitely makes the production layer very robust. But I would once again highlight that that's not the only purpose that automation solves now. Ensuring error free operation is not the only purpose. Ensuring speed of operation is not the only purpose. What it also serves is it integrates with the middle layer, and it provides rich data for analysis to the enterprise layer. And this is very important to understand when we talk about efficiency. Yeah. Okay. So there is one question by Mr. Chaudhary, V.N. Chaudhary. For creating virtual twins in an old plant, is it necessary to change all the monitoring and measuring instrumentation to smart ones? Okay. I would say not really, not really, because uh, when we are creating when we are talking about a digital twin of, let's say, a unit operation, okay, we might have certain measuring parameters there, and probably some of them are not smart transmitters, meaning some of them are not connected to the DCS. But we really have to study the system to see that in order to prepare a exact virtual twin of this system, do we really need to influence the sensors there? So typically, let's say we have a brownfield plant which already has an automation system and some sensors data already pulled into the automation system. In that case, as a first step, yeah, of course, a perfect digital twin can be a few steps away, but as a first step, the digital twin can of course pull in whatever data we already have, whatever data we already pull in the automation system, and create the first, or let's say first step of the digital twin. So there is no interlog that we straight away uh, remove all the sensors and put in smart sensors. We really have to see how we go step by step, and it is possible to go step by step. So there is one feedback from Ankit Gupta. Question feedback. He says, from QMS perspective, how can we rely on automation in pharma, as there will be more chance of data breach, and also it requires robust monitoring to avoid any system failure. Now, apart from whatever we spoke, all the automation, the MES systems that we spoke, one important point, and like you lightly highlighted, breach of data or tampering of data is not at all acceptable in a pharma world. Yeah? So, therefore, when we saw the challenges and we talked about foolproof system, adhering to certain standards is very important, and I would say there are systems from Siemens also which adhere to 21 CFR Part 11. They are compliant systems which ensure that the data is tamper proof, which ensure that the system, there is a login based system. It is made sure that the compliance would ensure that there is no, or there is probably zero chance of breach of data. So you have rightly pointed out this point, and therefore every system, including the MES system, has to be 21 CFR Part 11 compliant. So there is one question. What is the software used for data aggregation or acquisition at the central level from various equipments in a pharma plant? So there are a lot of softwares available, a lot of data acquisition softwares available. Typically in a formulation plant, we see a lot of such requirements of different equipments which are managed sometimes by different automation vendors and bringing in data together. Uh, Siemens also has some very good solutions which are compliant solutions also, specifically tailored for pharmaceutical industry. And what we should also be mindful when we talk about data aggregation is, we aggregate data. So one purpose of data aggregation in a formulation plant or in any system is definitely to bring it all together in one platform. But a data acquisition system also helps us and enables us with this rich data, rich production data, rich data from the various batches that helps us for analysis. And I keep stressing this point again and again, because that's where the industry, that's where the quality is going to go further. uh, when we reach a certain point, if we have to go further, then analysis of whatever has happened is extremely important. Yeah. Okay. So there is one question from Mr. Ullas. Could you please elaborate on automation, digitalization, and ease of computer validation coupled with deviation management? Okay. So I think automation we spoke a lot about, and we also spoke a lot about MES, and deviation management is an integral feature within the MES system, within manufacturing enterprise systems. Typically, like I said also in the presentation, rather than a quality person having to go through each and every line item in the BMR and cross verifying it and checking it against the different backups and different sources of data, review by exception or just going through the deviations makes the job quite easy. So deviation management is a part of MES. Uh, Automation, digitalization. So see, digitalization is a very big word, I would say. What we really talked about today in the production layer and the middle layer is the digitization part. Yeah? When we say digitization, it is enablement of data. And what we talked about in the enterprise layer, the last part on the data analytics that we spoke, that was really the digitalization piece, where we say we are doing quality by design, we are doing analysis of our batches, we are trying to gain insights. So automation, MES, and digitalization, I would say, are closely integrated with each other. Okay, let's see. So there's a question, does MES modules address automation as well? Now, this is a question from Mr. Anand Prakash. So, see, MES is a different concept than automation. So, what you see on the screen uh, is a separate, so it's called a distributed control system. It's a separate software that is used for process control. So, if you see in this diagram, typically you have all of these IOs from the field. They are connected together to single stations or clients, and we have the distributed control system or the DCS software that is installed on this. So this is what is automation, which takes care of process control. MES integrates with automation. So let me move to this slide. Yeah. So when we talk of an MES system, which I keep saying is a thread between the ERP system right until the final production and packaging, automation system, which is doing the process control, would integrate with the MES system so that any data in the automation system is automatically pulled in the MES system, and typically this is done when the BMRs have to be filled up in the actual production. So that is how integration of MES and automation takes place. Okay. There is one question from Mr. Chintamani. Does this system cover all FDA and other applicable regulations? Many FDA offices require manual data. So for sure, all the regulations that are cited in the FDA, all the systems that we spoke of effectively address, and like I said, they are compliant also to 21 CFR Part 11 standards. So yes, a definite yes there. Uh, if there is any manual data, we really need to see. However, as far as the first part of your question is concerned, yes, all the regulations and all the standards are fully followed. Okay, we have one question. Can MindSphere, which is the open cloud-based platform of Siemens, be positioned to replace any layers of the five-layer pyramid structure? Okay, so for to understand this, we need to go uh, to the 5-layer structure. So MindSphere, or basically any cloud-based platform, would always lie on this enterprise layer here, where it is collecting data from all the layers below. Now, this question also comes a lot of times, that okay, if I have a cloud-based platform, can I replace the automation? Can I replace layer 2, layer 3, and directly use the cloud-based platform to do the work that a layer 2 or an automation system is supposed to do, for example? And the answer that we always give is the layered architecture, which you see here. There is a definite purpose behind this architecture, and we should follow the architecture the way it is. Every layer here, so when we talk about the automation system, it has a certain purpose. The purpose is process control and adhering to the procedures, ensuring that whatever recipe is put in is followed and it is interacting with the MES to follow the procedure. That is the purpose of a DCS system in a pharma plant. But when we are talking about a cloud based system, its purpose is different. Its purpose is not to do process control. There are systems to do that. Its purpose is to have whatever rich data that it has, to analyze this data, to really give insights to the people, to the professionals, to know what went wrong, what did not went wrong, why something went well, why something does not go well. So the idea to have a cloud-based platform is really for analysis of data, for what we call digitalization, to gain insights. And we definitely would not recommend to replace any of the systems below. Another reason to do that is these are all internet based systems. Yeah. And any internet based system is not foolproof. It's always subjected to uh, a disconnection in the internet and so on, availability of bandwidth. There are so many concerns. So we definitely would not like to have a process control wherein a critical valve opening or a valve closure is dependent on a system which can be influenced by a bandwidth or a internet connection. Yeah, that's another side to it. But irrespective of that, probably technology in the future might even address that. But irrespective of that, we would always say we respect the pyramid as it is, and we use the cloud layer for in-depth analysis. Okay. So there's one question from Mr. Nikhil, which asks about calibration in the process. So, good question. Calibration management is also an important part, but definitely also in the pharma industry. And the data management software that we saw. So let me just pull that slide. Yeah, we saw this data and document management system, which is bringing in all the data from the plant, from the design to the services in one place. This also includes data from the calibration management system. So there are separate calibration management systems. Siemens also has one, which are compliant. So 21 CFR Part 11 compliant systems, wherein we can not only calibrate the instruments, but there is also a way to store the calibration data. And whatever calibration reports are extracted from the system typically, they are then integrated into this data hub, which we saw, the common data hub. Okay, let's see the next question. There's a question from Mr. Thompson. How strong is the firewall of this system? Is it prone to hacking or data leaking? Okay, so as far as a good question. So all the systems, be it on the OT layer or the IT layer, like we call it nowadays, they have to conform to the IT standards so that they are sorry, they are not susceptible to hacking or breach of data. So on the OT layer, we always talk about the IEC standards 62443. So all the softwares that we spoke about today in the OT layer, including the automation softwares, they follow the IEC standards. And similarly, in the IT layer, so the cloud platforms and other things that we spoke about, this top layer, uh, it also complies to the different IEC standards. So, good question, but then the systems are made in such a way that they comply to the IEC standards, and therefore uh, there is almost minimal or least chance of hacking or breach of data. Okay, so we have one question from Mr. Deepam. What pain points have we experienced when implementing the MES system? If we can share. So, good question, I would say once again. Uh, See, deployment of an MES system, the first step really is to understand how the existing plant operation is. So, whenever we take up uh, a job and whenever we have to deploy an MES system, I'm just moving to this slide, we really have to first see what is the way the plant is set up presently. Okay, because like I said, there are multiple systems. There has been traditionally a method in which the plant is working. So what all data should be pulled into the MES, what all should be kept separately, this this study forms the first step always of deploying an MES system. So we spend typically quite a lot of time in doing this study. For example, sometimes customers tell us that they want to have the warehouse management system also as a part of the MES. In that case, we really have to see what is the existing system, how was it getting done. If we are moving it to a MES system, what changes will it bring on? So I would say the initial study of the existing plant, identifying the processes, identifying what should be a part of the MES system is sometimes there is no automation. Yeah. What we see here in the picture is an ideal world probably. So if we don't have an automation system, what do we do? If we have, then what do we do? So uh, deployment of an MES system, the major part of it is the study, and then the second part of it is the actual configuration of the system for deployment. uh, I would say it's not if the study part or the review part or understanding part is carried out well, and that's where we focus always, then the later part becomes comparatively quite smooth. Yeah? We typically spend a lot of efforts in the initial part. Okay, there is one question on reliability of data. So does it ensure reliability of data? And I presume probably you're relating to all the layers. There's a question from Arun Gupta. And if yes, how is it done? Now, uh, see, when we talk about reliability of data or integrity of data, when compared to a manual operation, and we compare a manual operation to an electronic operation facilitated by an automation and a MES system, for sure the reliability of data would be much more, because the inherent errors that would come in a manual operation would not come. So whether it is picking up of the process parameters from the DCS and entering it into the BMR, whether it is integration of the warehouse and the ERP system into the MES system and the work orders getting generated from there, whether it is the deviations that are recorded in an MES system. I believe strongly that the moment we have these systems integrated with each other, and this word is very important, yeah, isolated systems, no good. An MES system integrated with the automation, with the ERP, with the analytics layer on the top. The moment we have this, I think reliability of data is very effectively ensured. The second point here is these systems are compliant systems, meaning they are designed in such a way that they would not enable tampering or breaching of data. So, be it automation or be it MES, uh, usage of compliant systems is also very important. So, and the actual process equipment also. So maybe what we can do is I'll ask one of my team members to get in touch with you and to take you through these cases in detail so that you can have a look. Okay, there is one question from Mr. Ankit. How the IT and pharma personnel collaborate while designing any automated system, as both have a different working area? Absolutely true, Ankit. And that is where a lot of times today we talk about integration of the IT. So, what used to happen traditionally in the automation system? Okay, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. Okay. So, what used to happen typically is automation systems were considered to be mainly at the production layer, and there was a disconnect between the IT and the OT. So now, as we move further into the technology space, these lines are getting blurred because we cannot have the IT systems disconnected from the OT systems. Because the moment we are talking about analysis, the whole foundation of any data analytics in this layer, at the top layer, is all the data coming from the OT layer. Yeah, so data analytics as a topic itself brings IT and OT together. So, Ankit, you are absolutely correct that whenever a system and therefore digitalization as a topic, now if you are only talking about automation as an isolated topic, yeah, probably it can be limited to a few people in the organization. But digitalization as a topic ranges from the production layer to the top layer. Yeah, so coming to the topic for today, to address the quality challenges, in my opinion, we should look at the system holistically. Because if we just say that, okay, my process control is manual, let's automate it, and that should be okay, that should be done. Probably that's not so effective. Yeah, so we definitely need a collaboration between the IT team, the quality team, the digitalization team, the production team to really see how we can bring about the holistic aspects, and it can be in a roadmap. Yeah, everything cannot happen in one time, but we can have a roadmap for an organization wherein we say, okay, we are here today and we have to move to this step. The reason why we have to move to this step is we have to go further. We have to ensure that in the next audit that happens, we don't get the observations that we got in the last 2 years. So, in order to meet these goals, or we have to ensure that the quality of our product is increased by whatever 5%, 2% going on. So, we need a roadmap, we need a plan going on, and as a part of that plan, we can devise things based on the priority and the available budget. Okay, so there is one question on authorization, data authorization and validation as per 21 CFR. So, from Soumya Darshi Chaudhary. So, like I said, typically uh, point one, all the systems are 21 CFR Part 11 compliant, and whenever these systems are deployed, the validation would follow typically the V model, like we do for all other cases also. So, be it automation or be it MES, that would be the validation process that would be followed uh, in a typical plant. So maybe if you want more details on how the validation takes place, maybe I will connect with you later, because validation as a topic or as a process in itself is quite big, and we need to spend some time together to really go through. Uh, so I have your details and I'll get back to you to have a specific discussion on the validation part. Okay, so there is one question from Ankit. Does automation reduce flexibility which a manpower can do as machines have fixed programming? So this is always a discussion that we have, yeah. Collaboration between machines or automation and people. I don't think any one system can fully replace or change the other. We need collaboration because the intuitiveness and the creativity that a human can bring, definitely a machine, at least today, it cannot bring on the table. So we should let machines do the job that they can do best, repetitive jobs, jobs which can be programmed, jobs which need not be done really by people, and all the skilled people on site. And we have so many experienced, skilled people on site who have worked for so many years, who have so much of knowledge about the process, about how the whole plant works. I think we can use all this knowledge in such a creative way to improve the operations of the plant and let the machines do topics which are repetitive and which don't really need uh, our intervention. And it makes the whole operation error free also and more accurate also. Okay, so yeah, so there's one question connected to it from Mr. Marula Sidappa. that in the automation system, can we optimize the manpower? Yeah, definitely it will get optimized, because if we don't have an automated system, if we don't have process control, typically every little operation has to be done manually, and uh, uh, it's really a big task to not just do every operation manually, but to do it repeatedly every day for every batch. And for sure it is prone to errors, for sure it is prone to the inherent errors that we as humans have built in us uh, when we do a certain operation repeatedly. So definitely automation system will optimize, I would say, in such a way that the skills of the people that we have in the organization, in the plant, they can be used in a much better way. Yeah, rather than using the skills in opening a valve and making an entry and doing this for 10 times in a day. All the experience that we have, and humans really have a lot of power which they can creatively think, intuitively think. We can use this experience and this creativity in taking our plant to the next level, taking the organization to the next level. So I'll put it across in that way, uh, in general, to answer these two questions. Okay, there is one question from Vinod Ji. Vinod Khanna. What about change management? How is it integrated backwards in a digital twin? Good question. So, like I said, maybe I can open that slide. So, like we saw here, when we talk about a digital twin, it's a live model, because what happens always is, let's say I'm building a plant. There is no real plant existing, and we made a virtual plant, and now we constructed the actual plant. So we have a virtual model and we have the actual plant. Now everything is always changing. The actual plant also would undergo changes, not only in the civil and the mechanical part, but also sometimes in the process, in the equipments, in the operators, in the layout. There are so many things. So a digital twin is always kept updated to the actual plant. So, like you see here, this is always a closed loop. Inputs from the real world going to the virtual twin, which is sitting on my computer, and insights from the virtual twin going to the real world. So, you are absolutely right. Uh, this change management has to be done. And to answer the second part of your question, how is this done? So, I'll pull out this discussion that we had. See, if we have to update a change manually, or if we have to do, let's say I change a flow meter in the plant, and if that information has to be updated in the virtual environment manually, it is a very difficult task, because it has to be updated in 10 different places by 10 different people. But if we have such a common data hub, if in such a database, to give you an example, if I change the tag name of an instrument from ABCD to 1234, the same tag name is going to get automatically updated in every place where it is used. Yeah. So the change management becomes very uh, easy when we incorporate such a common data and document management system. Is my screen visible or not?
No, your screen is not visible, ma'am.
Okay. Is it now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So to answer that question, I hope probably you could not see the slide, but I hope you understood that change management becomes very easy when you have a common data hub, all the information coming in together, and that also ensures consistency of data, which is very important in change management. Okay. Um,
So, ma'am, I think we can take the pending queries through mail.
Sure,
So,
sure. Yes.
yeah, we can conclude the session now.
Yeah. So,
So,
thank you very much. Thank you from my side for being patient and for listening to the session today and for throwing such good questions. Thank you once again.
Concluding the session, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our speaker, Ms. Shurvi Bapat, for being with us today for these sessions and for sharing the knowledge and learnings today and letting us know how a consistent top level quality and compliance with the good manufacturing practices can be achieved through adopting smart solutions throughout the life cycle of pharmaceutical manufacturing. We hope it was a fruitful session for our participants. We will send you the feedback form. Do send your responses to us. Also, the pending queries will be answered through mail. We also have some interesting webinar lined up in the coming week, information for which will be shared in the subsequent communication to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much and have a good day.
Ma'am, you can stop sharing your screen now.
Okay. Thank you very much, organizers, from my side. Hello, am I audible? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, Priyanka. Can I disconnect from the call?
Yes, please